Do you fancy a fisherman's friend?
Aye, go on. I've not had one of these since last November.
I've never told no one this before, Carter. But when I used to watch the trains go by, I made up stories about the passengers.
Did you?
Aye. I remember one night, this train got stopped at signals right outside our house, and I could see straight into this carriage. And there was just one bloke sat there on his own. He was wearing a black coat with a fur collar, and he'd got an ebony walking stick with a silver top, and he'd a grey Homburg with a purple ribbon round it. And he were all swarthy and shifty-eyed with a guilty look to his face, just like that Leon Britain. And suddenly, Carter, he took an attaché case down from the luggage rack, and he put it on his knees, and he opened it. And he took something out, and I swear to God it was a pistol.
Honest?
Honest. And he held it up, and he put it to the side of his head. And then...
What? What?
The signals changed and train drew off.
Is that all?
No, Carter, no. I made up this story about him. I visualised everything about him. I let my imagination run riot. It soared. I couldn't control it. Were right uncanny.
I bet it was. So what was the story you made up about him?
We got chronic gun boils.
I see. Well, they can be quite painful at times, can gun boils?
Of course they can. They can give you a jip. I made up another story too.
Oh, aye?
Aye. It were about this lady. I caught a glimpse of her on the 11:17 to Marylebone, and I let my imagination run riot again, about her and me going off together. She'd have long blonde hair, Carter, and slim ankles with thin silver chains around them. And she'd have spoken in a posh accent and smoked cigarettes with cork tips covered in lipstick. And she'd have come into me bedroom and swept me away in a navy blue Lanchester, and we'd have sat in the back seat and she'd have fed me fudge from her mouth and taken her shoes off. And then we'd have gone to this cross-channel port and taken a packet boat to France in a howling gale, and she wouldn't have spewed her ring up. And then we got on this train and had our tea in the dining car with waiter service. And we ended up in this villa in the hills in the south of France, and pelicans in the sea far below. She were a cracker, Carter. She hadn't got chilblains on her toes. She hadn't got a loud voice and hairy legs. She got washed hair, and those nipple things you read about in the Sunday papers. She kissed you, and her lips didn't taste of gravy. And we lived there in the sunshine with striped awnings and real red wine that wasn't Empire sherry.
And what's happened?
She threw me out because of my bad table manners.
Carter Brandon swallowed the last of his fisherman's friend and hung out his tongue to air. Uncle Mort picked thoughtfully at his teeth with his smoker's compendium.
Why people have to travel, I'll never know.
They say it broadens the mind.
Rubbish. All travel does is breed a nation of malcontents. All this obsession with continental holidays abroad on the continent. It's been the ruination of this country. Why go all the way to Spain to be miserable, when you can be miserable on your own back doorstep at Bridlington?
And Morecambe.
Oh, nay, lad, nay, not Morecambe. Moderation in all things.
He bent down in front of his bedside table, opened the door, and took out a pint bottle of glucose stout, wrapped in the front page of the Daily Dispatch.
Do you fancy a bevy?
Aye, go on. Shall I nip downstairs and nick Uncle Cheese from the fridge?
Aye, have a trip downstairs. It's favourite is that if you think travel broadens the mind.
Carter Brandon went downstairs and looked in the fridge. There was no cheese, so he took 7 slices of cold belly pork instead. When he returned to the bedroom, Uncle Mort looked at the offering and said,
Well, that's a bit skinny, isn't it? Wasn't there no haslet then?
No.
The rain sidled away. The garden dripped. The wind blew. Slates rattled. They drank their stout and munched contentedly at the slices of belly pork.
This is what I call a good northern meal.
So do I.
That's why travel's messed things up so much.
Why?
Because it's made northerners discontent with their natural unhealthy diet.
You're right.
Well, of course I'm right. All this obsession with Chinese takeaways and hamburgers with plastic forks and them Italian pizzas what look as though giraffe's been sick on a breadboard.
Aye.
It's been the ruination of the North as travel. In the old days we was a race apart, unheard of by Disneyland and Cyprus new potatoes. And now look at us, reduced to bathing topless with no clothes on in Barcelona and showing off with women folks' fat arses in American jeans.
Aye. Do you want that last slice of belly pork?
Of course I do. Don't be so greedy. I've only had 5.
Uncle Mort bolted back the slice of belly pork and wiped his greasy hands on the hem of the eiderdown. They spent the rest of the afternoon playing dominoes and 3-card brag for matches.
Is it time for tea yet, Carter?
Yes.
Good. I'm right cleanly.
They packed away the dominoes and the crib board and went downstairs to the kitchen. Mrs. Brandon was sitting at the table, cleaning her curlers with a toothbrush.
Have you lads had a good day out, then?
Not bad.
Where'd you go?
To the back bedroom.
You did right, Mort. Well, travel broadens the mind, doesn't it?
For tea they had brawn, polony, boiled ham, kippers, brown bread and butter. Pork pie and more brown bread and butter, followed by lime jelly and custard.
I could have sworn I had some belly pork in the fridge. Wonder where it's got to.
Give me time, Annie, and I'll let me imagination run riot about that one, too.
For supper they had Lancashire hot pot, red cabbage and pickled onions.
That was The Man Who Watched the Trains Go By. Stephen Thorne played Uncle Mort, Peter Skellen played Carter Brandon, and Joan Matheson played Mrs. Brandon. The narrator was Christian Rodska. Uncle Mort's North Country is written by Peter Tinniswood and produced by Pete Atkin.